Hello and welcome to Just Do It, a Dewey Brothers podcast. This week, I am Alex and Eric is MIA. He has a horrible case of finalitis. Don't worry, unlike COVID, this one is curable. And so instead, I have a fellow sports enthusiast, Mr. Butterdogs. How you doing over there, Jesse?
Good. Happy to know I'm a suitable backup for Eric while he's doing whatever child thing that he does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're also going to pretend you're the first person I called.
I will pretend to be flattered.
So let's get this podcast on the road. Obviously, you're a extreme sports enthusiast. I'm a extreme sports enthusiast. And so I figured today that's what we would talk about on the podcast.
Yeah, extreme sports, endurance sports, really just love to test the limits of the human body.
Speaking of limits of the human body, which leg of the triathlon do you think is more exciting? Swimming.
Normally
biking,
I'm a left legger. But there are just some athletes that are doing a lot of work with the right leg of the triathlon. And I think we really got to watch out for them.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly train right leg for the triathlon. It's all about getting the correct segment down. Really, when you're training.
You see, I think the right leg will really get you through a lot of the bulk, but the really standout athletes, you really got to tap that left leg. There's just no other option.
It's about digging deep. It's about digging deep, swapping up the cadence. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, that's a thing I've been asking all of my friends lately. When you're running, do you have a dominant leg?
I do not have a dominant leg. I don't think. You're gonna make me question myself. Do you have a dominant leg?
I mean, no. It changes every day, and I can change it constantly. But one leg's always my lead. Like, I have a lead foot. Like, I can't. My running doesn't work without a lead foot.
Oh, yeah.
I always just drop into a rhythm, and one of them's leading, and then when that one gets tired, I swap to the other one. which I think is like a common occurrence. So I read somewhere that the scientists, they believe, right, the scientists, they're pretty sure that we're not right and left-handed. We're actually right and left-footed because lots of four-legged animals they don't have handedness. But kangaroos do. And kangaroos are like real far away on the evolutionary tree. But they're bipedal.
So does that make sense for people like me who are left-handed but right-footed?
Maybe. You're right-footed. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to call these so-called scientists. Questions for the theory.
You should call them funny names. That's what you should do.
Oh, I will.
All right, so I dug up some tweets for this podcast about sports questions that people asked, I guess, Twitter, and we're going to answer for them. The first one here comes from Casno at the Casno, and their tweet, they're asking the Dewey Brothers, it burns me to the nth degree that 1, I need CDs/DVDs in 2021, 2001, obviously. 2, they only had a pack of 100 at Walmart, and 3, Walmart carries DVDs but not blank DVD cases anymore. Yeah.
Well, first of all, this isn't a question.
It's close enough.
Second of all, as someone who actually uses CDs and DVDs in my job, I have a whole stack of them kicking around in my car. You should just leave these in front of any government facility. They'll be happy to have them.
That's probably a good idea. As a matter of fact, I heard that... See, this reminded me of a race that is going on, presumably this summer, maybe next summer, at some point in the future. It's called the Walmart 100. I don't know if you've heard about this one.
Oh, I've heard some rumors of a new up-and-coming race revolutionizing the sport of long-distance hiking and running. But let me hear a little bit more about this.
So I think it'd be a great idea if, for one of the editions, they just had you bring DVDs or CDs and just left them in the parking lots of all of your local government buildings, right? You could do some sort of lap through the government military area, right? Like just downtown, stop in at every lab you can see, and just leave a stack of DVDs out in front. They'll appreciate that.
They really like that. There are always shortages of DVDs.
Thumb drives work in a pinch, but DVDs are better. Mm-hmm. And so this Walmart 100 is a race. It's a hiking endurance stage race over 3 days where you have to purchase all of your food for $100 and all of your hiking gear as well in order to sleep. You have a flat surface each night that the race organizers may make dry or may not. Really depends how they're feeling that day. And you have to race to those locations in essentially any way you want. I heard some people buying bikes. That's a controversial opinion. And I also know that the race organizer has a recommended like shopping list for you, and it is 1 6-pack of Guinness and as much Kerrygold butter as you can shove into your bib shorts. That's how he expects you to power your way for 3 days across this course.
Now, the legend has it that this race has its origins in someone's great grandpappy that found themselves with nothing but the clothes on their back and $100 bill in a Walmart parking lot, and they had to get to work in 3 days at another Walmart 100 miles away.
that is the legend.
So these race organizers are carrying on that tradition.
They found themselves, as a matter of fact, these Walmarts were on opposite sides of a fairly large mountain. And that grandpappy had only one option, which was to shove his pockets full of butter and Guinness and just start going for it.
Yeah, of course, these recommended items are based on what he bought himself.
Jesse, how would you try and get through this race? Would you go for speed? Would you go for endurance?
Well, I know it's going to be 3 days. I'm going to be real miserable if I don't have something to kind of sleep around. I'm also going to need some sort of place to carry my thing. I think I would go. I'd get like a backpack. I'd probably get like a shitty tarp. I bet you can get a sweater. A sweater doubles as like a blanket too if you're in a pinch.
That's true.
And then as much Kerrygold Irish cream butter as will remain. I'm not quite hardcore enough to bring nothing but my butter. Another option I've considered is teaming up. If you get some guy to get the shelter and you can get the food, you only have to carry one shelter. You can share the load. But then you gotta watch out in the last day if he just doesn't ditch you with the tent.
That's true. Yeah, maybe he throws the tent out on day one after day one, right?
This is a strictly leave no trace trail. That will get you disqualified immediately. Grandpappy was very insistent.
Literally,
he carried all of his empties with him to work
the whole way. Yeah,
it's a shame because if you show up with 6 empty bottles of Guinness, they fire you. But he stuck by his convictions to the end.
He really did. Grandpappy was a great guy. And yeah, see, I think my strategy would involve a hobo bindle made out of a tarp in order to most cheaply affix as much food to my body as possible.
That's smart.
The problem is, like, high quality cord is kind of expensive. And that $20 could go into more butter reserves to keep my energy topped off.
Yeah, stealing is not encouraged, but I don't know if there are any laws against it. And just nipping a shoelace from one of the shoes, you didn't hear it from me, but is an outside option if you need a little bit of twine.
That is true. Yeah, I heard in one edition of the race, someone got up and just took all the shoelaces out of all of their competitors' shoes, and from that day on, the rules remain unchanged. So, after the great shoelessness incident of 2017, I mean, anything goes in this event.
Mm-hmm. Legend has it that there's a hard mode for this. That you just take the $100 and you don't even go to the Walmart. You just start running.
Yeah, that would be insane, especially because you'd be on your own for anything but water for 3 days. Which I don't know about you, but my what do humans have? Something or others?
Glycogen.
My glycogen stores last about 2 hours, and then I'm a grumpy, sad potato.
I mean, I've got enough fat that I can burn in like 2 days worth of fat, I imagine, without getting too miserable. I don't know if I wouldn't be going very fast, but I bet you could finish it.
I mean, that's the other thing, right? Like, the faster you go on day one, sure, it takes down your overall time, right? But then you just have to hang out in a parking lot somewhere for until you're allowed to until the next day's race starts, right?
And you're really hoping it's not raining that night.
Yeah. And each leg's about 30 to 35 miles, right? In order to get the 33 miles per day average for the 100 miles you have to traverse.
Yeah,
So
and some of those over some pretty decent sized New England mountains.
that's true. I heard that this year is going to start at the Burlington Walmart and go up over Appalachian Gap before heading north to Stowe, and then going back over the highest point in Vermont, Mount Mansfield. Yeah, it's a real heck of a time to do that sort of traveling. And one of the things that I always wonder about this race is when competitors are out there, do you get sick of eating nothing but butter? And I imagine so. And if you wanted to, like, spice up the race, could you bring like chicken or something and then like heat it with, I don't know, alcohol or some sort of like crackers you could burn, maybe? Like what could you get at Walmart? I know. An entire Coleman gas stove.
That would be intense. And I actually, if I have my,
well, you'd have to bring a Coleman tent too, and those are pretty pricey.
Those are pretty pricey. They're pretty heavy, but the weight is obviously no object for something of that quality.
Not something as extreme as a Walmart 100 participant.
Mm-hmm. The Coleman stuff's good.
I mean, Coleman strong, right? And
Coleman strong.
I also heard that the cutoff for making it into camp is when the next race starts the next day at 8:00. So you could just like all-nighter. You'd be really far behind. I don't recommend it. So yeah. Anyway, all right, let's move on to our next topic, which comes to us via this tweet from C Sports, who says, "Are you riding the Tour to Barnstable this Sunday and using the Strava app to record your rides? There are two," and then it just trails off. So I'm not following dangerous links on the internet, but this reminded me of a race that I think you're putting on called the Tour to Strava.
Yeah, so you may have seen when you're loading up your Strava to record a run or a bike ride, there's a lot of different options you can do there. So you can go for an ice skate, you can go for a roller ski, you can go for a canoe ride. There's a lot of different recording options in Strava. Tour to Strava.
Cardio.
Yeah, just cardio, working out, elliptical stuff. So you may have heard of the Tour de France, which is 21 days of biking over 23 days in France. The Tour de Strava is all 31 sports over 31 days.
Ooh, that is brutal. Can you give us an example of what's the defining sport that makes or breaks an athlete trying to compete in the Tour de Strava?
Well, there's a lot of them. So obviously the athletes will get a couple of rest days or easier days. There's the e-bike ride day, which we don't expect being that hard. There's the alpine ski and snowboard days, which you're allowed to ride the lift. So
yeah, honestly, just fun.
But some of these days, like stand-up paddling, that's a rough day. And going right from stand-up paddling to surfing, your legs are gonna be tired.
Ooh, yeah, especially considering this year's is someplace you can do both skiing and surfing within like 3 days of each other. So are we thinking California or Europe?
It's not clear at this point. We're still trying to source a lot of these materials. It can be really hard to get a velomobile, but that's an option in Strava. So we gotta get that. Additionally,
the team, it's really an expensive sport. It's a lot of gear for the athletes, and they compete in teams, right? How many athletes per team are there?
So it's just like the Tour. There are 7 athletes per team, and they have to work together. And each of the different sports has different rules. So the bike racing, they're working as a team. But for rock climbing, you've got to get 7 people. You've got to get 7 people at the top of that big wall, and you're going to be belaying a lot.
Yeah, what are the rules on big wall climbing? Does only one of the team members have to lead? Do you like switch off the lead out train in order to just kind of chugga choo choo up that mountain?
So you can just chugga choo choo. You can have your strongest climber climb the whole thing or lead the whole thing, and then top rope the rest of your guys up.
Yep.
You can switch off between who's leading and who's following. You can try and if you're really good climbers, you can quick climb and have 2 simultaneous guys going up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the insurance hates that one.
Is it like any routes allowed, or?
There's a couple of different designated routes at around the same difficulty, just so we don't have everyone trying to climb on top of each other.
Right.
But there are some intersections that do get spicy.
Oh yeah, of course. Especially if you're trying to get a little punchy in the ropes, it can get nasty up there.
Mm-hmm.
And which sport is directly after climbing alphabetically?
So directly after, they're not alphabetical. I think they're by most popular, maybe, or they're grouped by sport. It's really unclear.
Oh, okay.
But directly after rock climbing is roller skiing. So
It's
usually
gonna be tricky after you're at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, so you have a day to rest on top of the mountain, and then you got to strap on your roller skis, and it's a harrowing descent down that mountain on roller skis. Let me tell you.
And we know not everybody can descend at a rapid pace. There are definitely some athletes who descend like old men.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd hate to have to, put up with them on your team in the descents in the roller skis for sure.
For sure. Sometimes you can gain some advantage by drafting on the roller skis too. Once you get more to the flat parts, which is part of what's working as a team. You got to make sure your hands aren't too knackered from the climbing to hold your ski poles on the pulley bits.
Oh yeah, of course. That's why you have those little fingerless gloves, right?
Absolutely.
And do you think it's still a peloton if they're all inline skating?
I'm not sure what the technical term is.
And when they get around to ice skating, that's going to be a team. They're all team events, right? Every single one, you got to work together as a team to try and get your rider / skier / climber / hiker / runner up there on GC, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to this event. It's going to be spicy.
It's going to be good. Yeah, the inline, the ice skating followed directly by the inline skating is going to be the real make or break for these athletes.
Really going to do a number on their ankles. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And many blisters happen.
And these sports are time adjusted, so it's like 5 hours of rock climbing that one day, followed by another 5 hours of roller skiing. I mean, this has got to be grueling.
This is grueling. There are some easier days, like I said. The walk day isn't too bad. That's just a 5-hour walk. But yeah, some of these are really, really, really rough days. Like the 5 hours of swimming takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean, even on that walk day at 3 miles an hour, that's nearly 10 miles. It's a pretty long walk.
Yeah. The athletes do have to look forward to the last couple of days at the Champs-Élysées, which you have your second to last day, which is yoga.
Which is, I mean, it's kind of, all the points are usually wrapped up by then. There's no sprint points in yoga, so the green jersey's already been claimed.
Yeah, sometimes you get some shakeups in the King of the Mountains on mountain pose, but that's about it. And then the last day is just workout. So that's just a time for the athletes to show us what they're made of and just kind of, do a quick 5-hour workout in the middle of Paris.
Oh yeah, exactly. Right around the Champs-Élysées with all the screaming fans. With 31 days, do they get any rest day, or does it just go, 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 and hope you make it to workout in Paris?
There's no rest days. They can rest on the walk days.
Exactly. What team are you looking forward to? I'm personally pulling for Bora. I think they can do it. Schachmann is looking good, and so is Pascal Ackermann. So I really think that Pascal Ackermann's last year he sucked at stand-up paddleboarding, but I think he's been working on his e-bike and he can pull it back.
I'm going to go with an outside opinion here. I'm going to say the U.S. basketball team. Now, none of them are competing in their sport of choice, but they're all a lot of really well-rounded athletes that I think are going to do a pretty strong showing.
That's true. Plus, they can all dunk, which will definitely help.
Absolutely. Somehow.
And as we all know, the most important thing to any ginormous tour event is the sponsors. So, Jesse, who is sponsoring the Tour of Strava?
Well, different sponsors for different events. The e-bike is sponsored by Duracell this year.
Ooh, that is fantastic. I love those Duracell banners going all the way up the mountain and then down the other side.
Yeah.
And so it's like a different sport every single day has their own unique sponsors.
That's what we tried to do. There are a couple we couldn't quite find.
That's really cool.
Can't find like a a thematic one in time. So the snowboard day is just sponsored by PBR.
That is a classic sponsorship, and I think they are. Is it legal for them to partner with the U.S. men's basketball team?
It is unclear.
Okay, well, we'll let the ethics board that governs this sport determine that. Which is what are they called? Is it the USI something Strava something?
I don't know. What language would it even be in?
Probably Swiss.
Oh,
Definitely handing out all their fines in Swiss francs.
absolutely. I don't know.
For using insufficient equipment. Anyway, we hate those guys.
Yeah, they're awful.
Oh, full of prudes. What do you mean my paddleboard paddle can only be 2 meters long? Ridiculous. You don't get a benefit for having a longer paddle.
I can't wear super aerodynamic socks on the surfing day. What is this? I have to be below my calves?
Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely insane. And how are there even illegal positions on an elliptical machine?
You know, they got to preserve the purity of the Tour de Strava. That you got to have, otherwise it would just be anarchy.
Oh yeah, the athletes just got a Strava. That's what I always say. The men's basketball team, I think they're going places.
I think so.
I mean, not as far as Bora Hansgrohe, but we'll see how it goes.
I don't know what their cycling tactics are like. They got a lot of good domestiques on that team for the cycling day. I don't know if they have a good GC rider. But they got a lot of big barn door type guys in the front that can break the wind real good.
They really do. Yeah, they have a bunch of just huge Germans and Austrians to just kind of like barn door the wind. Yeah. I think they're going to make it up in the swim. That's really what I think they're going to do it. Something about performance enhancing German engineering, I heard. It might not be legal, so don't tell me the USI. And don't even get me started on the illegal emissions of their kayaks, okay? They are... I mean, they passed all the kayak emission tests. That's all I'm saying.
Those were very strictly controlled tests. There's no way they could have cheated them, I don't think.
Oh, absolutely not. All right, you want to thank our sponsors and get this Ericless podcast out of here so he can upload it for us?
I would like to thank Bread Yeast. Makes good bread. There are other uses for it.
We'll let you experiment with them.
You can do so many things with yeast.
I have to thank... that's right. They're back in it, boys. We got to thank Big Rose. They're sponsoring both the Walmart 100. Try Rose. It's cheap, kinda. You're going to get a couple bottles. I mean, you'll be fine. And the Tour de Strava. That's right. Downhill Ski Day is brought to you by Rose, the champagne of wines. Rose. I
would like to thank the Walmart 100, brought to you by Target.
And now unpurchasable at Target. They used to be not anymore. You can't get them there anymore. Homegrown hops. That's right. If you're doing any yeast experiments, try adding homegrown hops. They're going to make it taste good, nice and refreshing. Homegrown hops. We just yeeted them all out of the garden this year when we just planted the garden today. So beat them back with a weed whacker, and they deserved it.
They'll be fine, I'm sure. I got some homegrown hops in my freezer right now. Can't wait to use those for some sort of experiment.
This podcast would not be possible without suspect tweets. Where is Alex finding them? Why aren't these related to anything? Suspect tweets.
And also uphills. They're like downhills, but spicy. Not brought to you by cartilage. You don't need it.
Oh yeah, no. They'll have it cartilage. They'll have a treatment for that. Don't worry about it. All right, thank you for potting with me, Jesse. I appreciate it. Filling in for Eric, his horrible, uncurable disease known only as finalitis. Hopefully he'll be back next week.
Thanks for calling me into substitute. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. With that, this has been Just Do It, a Dewey Brothers podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Jesse.
And for the love of God, man,
just send it.
Woo! I think a pretty good podcast.
That was a pretty good podcast. Yeah.
Packed full of information.
Little mired in the weeds at some point. You might want to edit the Strava section down for trimness.
I'll edit it. I'll doctor it like all of my Strava segments.
We test for that.
All right, Craig, get the heck out of here, man.